Welcome to the Practicing Accountant Podcast, your go-to resource for transforming your accounting practice. This podcast is for accountants ready to take control of their business and build their ideal practice by mastering the essentials, setting the right prices, defining a powerful niche, and selling with ease. We'll dive into strategies that boost profits, attract your ideal clients, elevate your services, and help you choose the most effective pricing models. We are champions for efficiency, value, and intentionality, and adversaries of people-pleasing, bad clients, and complacency. We provide actionable strategies to help you break the hamster wheel of typical accounting work. The mission of the Practicing Accountant Podcast is simple: to enhance your experience as an entrepreneurial accountant and help you turn neglected practices into a thriving business. So, if you're ready to level up your practice, this podcast is for you. Tune in and let's get to work.
Happy almost 3:15.
Yeah, we got like 40 days left. The time we're recording, we've got 39 days left on a warm, hopefully clear Tuesday in April. It'd be like, what's the song? School's out for summer.
Yeah.
It'll be busy season's over for accountants.
That's right. Till October. September.
Till October 15th. That could be, we could record this.
We could have AI sing that song for us.
Do you want to sing, or do you want to be on like guitar, or what would you do?
Oh, I'm the most tone deaf, musically dumb person, for lack of a better word. I love music. But I can't create. I can't sing. I can play.
So have you ever played an instrument?
I played trumpet. I can play taps. I can play Peter Pumpkin Eater on the piano.
The recorder?
Yeah.
I could never play trumpet because my lips are too big. I tried to play trumpet, but I eat the mouthpiece. So I was a trombone primarily, and then I moved into, I did a little tuba, I guess, baritone. But trumpet or trombone was my deal.
I was going to say, you look like a sax player to me for some reason.
Yeah, a little jazzy. Nice.
Throw on a fedora, and you're a sax player.
You know, that's how I got my wife. Is we went on a date at a jazz bar, and there was a great, I don't remember who, but there was someone playing jazz, and I was able to kind of walk her through how they were playing music and how they were communicating to each other and how they knew when it was someone else's turn to take over and, jam for a little while. And she was so impressed. She was like, "Oh, I was smitten with you," and maybe in some dancing. Of course, my striking good looks were a key component to that whole thing as well. But we'll come up with our own song here and play it sometime.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I'm noticing some stuff out there, and I guess I kind of feel like this is a good place to kind of share some war stories or some things that I'm feeling and the work with my clients. So I will have met with around 50 public accountants and from big firms to solopreneurs in the month of March, which is actually a record for me because usually I can't keep an accountant or a CPA this time of year. They tend to put me off or reschedule me or not show up. I get ghosted occasionally.
I was going to say that's pretty good show rates for March.
Right. Like I said, I think it's a record. Yeah. So I don't know what that says. Either I'm getting better or getting more desperate. One of the two. But I tend to notice themes, and each time we do one of these, I think it'd be good for me to share some of those themes of what I'm, they call this the special news report from the CPA coach.
There you go.
And there's a theme I've noticed this week, and that is pace. I'm noticing a lot of my clients have settled into a pace, and let's just call it an unproductive pace. Now, that doesn't mean they're not producing stuff. That doesn't mean they're not getting work done. They're not, getting through files or getting in front of their clients. But for them, it's just starting to show a little bit of the wear and tear. The pace is slower than it could be. They're putting things off. I have a client that for about a month had decided they were going to hire someone. And I hadn't talked to him in a month. So I expected to talk to him this week and hear about how they brought in this resource and they got them, onboarded and they're already doing good work. And instead I heard, I still haven't done that job description yet.
Oh,
I was like, what? Are you kidding? Like this is your key to, having a better experience and doing what you're doing. Why not? I haven't had a chat. I was like, you have access to ChatGPT, right? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, they can do it for you in like 2 minutes. Like literally. And I think this person even has an HR department or at least professional that could do it for them, but they hadn't done it. And their pace was off. And then this same person hadn't done, there was 3 prospect clients that they could have brought in, ideal clients that they hadn't reached back out to. And there was, process automation. They had an opportunity to automate one of the processes that had really slowed them down. And they were in that meeting trap where it was like they'd have a meeting and talk about it, and then they'd be like, let's have another meeting to talk about it. Then they'd have another meeting to talk about it, and they would just have meetings to talk about it over and over again. So our meeting was 90 minutes long. 57 minutes into the meeting, I said, we're done. Well, we're ending the meeting. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, we're done. So we're going to end, and the clock was still ticking. So now it was like 58 minutes. I said, I'm going to give you these next 32 minutes. And I bet a quarter, because that's my standard bet. It's a quarter. I don't bet more than that because, not to say I don't have more than that, but it's just not safe beyond a quarter. And I said, I bet in the next 32, now it's 31 minutes, that you can do all 3 of these things that we just talked about in 31 minutes.
nice.
And I'm giving it to you. It didn't exist. Like, this is free. This is just free time that I'm giving you, 31 minutes. And the only thing I want you to do is to finish the job description and send it to where it needs to go. Make 3 emails or calls to those prospects so you can get them lined up. And instead of having another meeting to meet about automation, I want you to take out a piece of paper and I want you to draw a flow chart of how it's currently going and how you want it to go so you can pass that off to the person who's going to fix it. Can you do that in 29 minutes? They're like, I probably can. I was like, okay, go do it. Let's go. Let's ramp this pace up a little bit. Let's get these things done instead of in this perpetual maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't.
You know why that happens
stage.
though is they, and I've been here. You get so overwhelmed with tasks that you just kind of walk around thinking about what task you're going to do next, and you actually never accomplish anything. Like you can't even take that one bite of the elephant, the proverbial elephant, and start that process because there's too much of it.
Have you ever seen those grandmaster chess players that play like 50 people at once?
Yeah.
And like they go from one chessboard to the next, they like make a move, then they move over here and they make a move. I feel like that's kind of what you're describing, right? Like you never really pay attention to one game. You're just like making a move here, send an email here, schedule a meeting here. Like nothing ever gets done. Like the games are just perpetual and always going, but never get done. But just, I guess what I'm hearing and what I'd encourage folks to do is just to take kind of a little bit of an inventory of what it is they're not doing right now, or they could get done if they just set aside just a little bit of time that would really improve their experience or opportunity this season. Because I know everyone's got something that they're putting off, and maybe because they're procrastinating because they think other things are more important, or they're afraid of success, or they're afraid they might actually be better. Like just do it. Get in the office early by 30 minutes and knock out those things that will really improve your experience and change the pace.
Anecdotally for me, the only way I can overcome that is literally writing a list on a Post-it note or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like write the list. Then it doesn't seem so daunting once there's a list of things that are on my mind. Then they exit my mind a little bit and they live in the list instead.
Sure.
And now it's a doable, more tangible thing to accomplish, and that helps me because I actually sympathize with this gentleman. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I do too. Often. But sometimes I think, we get so caught up in ourselves and our situations that we kind of adopt it'll never get done kind of mentality. I always had a number of partners in my life that influenced my experience, and I can remember a couple of them that wouldn't take no for an answer. Like if there was something that needed to get done, it was close to the end, we were almost there. I would have kind of a mentality of, well, we can't get it done this week. I guess we'll get it done on Monday. And I'd had some people in my life who were like, nope, that's not happening. We're doing it this week. We're getting it done today. And where's the phone? And what do we need to do? And let's make this happen.
Yep.
And then, it worked. Like whatever that was, it got done. And I was always walked away from that. Like, why didn't I think of that? And it becomes somewhat of a lesson in pace and determination and just making sure these things could happen. But, I think to paraphrase, it's light a fire under your ass and get some of this stuff done that you're waiting on.
Yep. 100%.
So, one thing that we wanted to capture today was, how does this feel? And by this, I mean, how does busy season feel? And what I've been hearing lately is panic mode, burnt out, super crazy busy, not enough time, staff aren't doing the work. We've got too much work. Clients don't appreciate it. Clients aren't getting me information. All the usual, gripes this time of year I'm hearing plenty of. Well, I think a perspective to think about is, did you do this to yourself? Is what you're experiencing by your own design? Like, is this exactly where you ended up because of some decisions you made? And
I mean, that's the universal truth, is generally you end up where you are because of the decisions you made. So
sure. And one of those decisions being how you price your clients, right?
Yep.
And if you're in a position right now where you're overwhelmed with work and don't have enough hours in the day to do it, what would that be like if you had, increased prices by 10 to 15% and removed 10 to 15% of your clients that you're currently doing?
Well, that's literally proof that you aren't pricing high enough. If you are so overwhelmed right now that you can hardly stand it, you can hardly think, you get so overwhelmed, like the example you shared, that you can't get anything done, I think that's a pretty good indication that you haven't priced your services well enough to give you the capacity that you need to survive this time of year.
Or to create an experience that you actually enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, if you were to take a snapshot of, the clients you're serving, the prices you're charging, and if you did some fun math, just, what would happen if I increased prices 10 to 15% next year with the exact same client base? How many would I lose? And you're going to lose some. And they're going to struggle to find anyone else to do their work. I'll be honest, from what I'm hearing. And you had 10 to 15% less of those clients next season. Your revenue, may not change or may go up. Your experience is going to be a lot better. You're not going to be pulling your hair out as much at this moment. And you might be sitting back right now going, hey, this isn't so bad. I could get used to this. I should have done this a long time ago. I wish this was the decision I made, years ago. But I think you bring up a great point, which is, this is proof. The experience, a tough experience in a busy season, is proof that something is not right. It's not going the way it should. And as soon as we hit April and May, then we go into that forgetful state, and we have a couple of weeks off or days off, and we get back to a place where this wasn't so bad with distance. But the truth is, right now is a great time to capture that and say, you know what, I'm not gonna stand for this shit anymore.
Yep.
And going into next year, I'm going to make some decisions that create the experience I want to in my business, and that might mean I lose some clients because I raise prices to an amount that allows me to enjoy this time rather than despise myself and my clients for it.
Let's be clear that a 10%, 15% increase in prices is probably not going to make you lose many clients, if any. It is such a sticky relationship that clients don't want to go find a new accountant because they feel like they have a personal relationship with you or some sort of relationship. They trust you. They know you, they like you. And so a small bump, even a moderate bump, is probably not going to push them away. And the people that it does push away are probably your worst clients.
Right. Well, just the pain of it. I mean, it's this may not be the best analogy, but my wife was a hairdresser. She was amazing at it, and she worked with some pretty hoity-toity type clientele. And it was like the end of the world when she retired from doing hair for her clients. First of all, because she did such a great job and she was just so pleasant to be around. But second of all, they had to go find someone else. And I guarantee you, like if she said, hey, you know what, I'm not going to retire, but I'm going to raise my prices, she wouldn't have lost a single person.
No.
And I think there's some of that similarity in the professional service of accounting, in that, if you're doing your job well, if you're serving your clients well, if you're calling them back and meeting the deadlines they set for you, they're going to be very, very price flexible with what you do in the years to come, because the pain of moving to an accountant that most likely will not serve them the way you do is going to be worth a lot alone, let alone the value you provide, the service you provide, the relationship you have.
Yep.
Just the pain of change is enough for folks to pay an extra 10 to 15% alone.
Accountants have built-in pricing power that most other industries don't have, which is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
So
that's wonderful.
Raise your prices.
And I think, we've been preaching on this for a couple of years now, but, we're coming up on another period now where we should be flexing that muscle, and we should be, for those ones we maybe aren't extending, for those ones we've wrapped up this season, we should be looking at those to ask whether or not those are ones we want to continue in a relationship with going forward.
Yep.
And for accounting services outside of, deadlines and busy season, ones that are just keeping us busy every month, if you're in that similar situation where you just are overwhelmed with work right now, again, that's a pricing problem.
Yep. Always. It's almost always a pricing problem.
I always say, like, communications, they're pretty much at the root of anything I encounter as a coach. And when it comes to, the business of accounting, price is right there at the top of the list, isn't it?
Fair. Communication's pretty big too. I'll give you that.
Yeah. But I think from the business perspective, I think you're right. I think pricing is, right at the top of the list as being, which I guess we could say is a communication issue too. But so what do we take from this? I think you need to really just capture the moment. And if you are miserable, recognize that no one else did this to you. This is only your responsibility to adjust in the future, and that you have control over the very mechanism that will improve your experience in years ahead. And that is for your price. Yep. And if you're afraid to raise your prices, then we've talked about ways to do it that are safe, mitigate risk of losing clients and revenue. There's a lot of ways to go about doing this without, having to take on that or address that fear you have. But if you want to have a better experience next year, just recognize you've got that option.
Yep. Awesome, man.
So one of the things we're doing at the Pricing Accountant that we're really excited about is we're inviting you, listeners, as well as members of our Facebook group and those that we connect and network with. We're inviting you to share in a real coaching conversation with me, the CPA coach. And it's going to be an opportunity for you to bring to the table something that you're working on, or something you might struggle with, or an area where you feel there's some opportunity and would like to explore in the practicing accountants. And even if there's no problem, even if you just want to share some of the success you've had and preach to our audience about things that you've done and maybe help them, we invite you. It's something that you can sign up for, and we'll include information for that in the notes here so that you can access that and reach out. And we'll record a session and probably use it for one of our own podcasts. So we'll do it anonymous if you'd prefer, or we can use your name if you'd like. But we just want to give you a chance to experience some coaching and share your story and do what we can to support you. So we hope you reach out and give this a shot, and we welcome you into coaching with the CPA coach at the Practicing Accountant. Yep. So that's it for today and our Practicing Accountant podcast. A little bit of storytelling, a little bit of self-awareness of our business and our pricing and our experience, and also just an opportunity to self-manage into a better place for this coming for a year from now.
There you go. All right, Doug. Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers.